It's time for another edition of Out and About with Jamie Grout. Thanks so much for joining me. My victim today, I don't know whether I should call him a victim, but my co-host today will be Bill Peters, who has been the Newton Senior High School principal and is transitioning to Provost at DMACC in Newton. Now, I want to encourage you to check out the other two podcasts that I have had. They would be the one with Newton Mayor Evelyn George, my very first official podcast, and then a member of the Board of Supervisors, Doug Couples. And those can be found on Spotify. You can also find them on the Jamie Grout Facebook page and the Out and About with Jamie Grout Facebook page. I'm looking at adding some additional platforms to make it easier for people to find. So watch for that in the future. Next week, I'm excited to talk to Craig Armstrong from the City of Newton, and a guy who is a radio hero of mine who I'd listened to for many years, but it wasn't until later on in my career and his career that we actually got together and talked, and that would be Van Harden, who has won something like 5 or 6 Marconi Awards, which is the Oscars of radio. And he still does public speaking. He's retired now, but he's a very fascinating guy and a great storyteller. So I'm looking forward to chatting with him. So Bill, thank you very much for joining me on Out and About with Grout here today. First question, what made you want to get into education?
Well, it's kind of a long story, and I'll make it short. I was at the University of Wyoming, and I was taking everything but anything that mattered. And I met a young lady, and she said, what's your degree going to be? And I said, I don't know. And she said, we dated for a while. She said, well, if you would like to continue dating me, you probably better find a career. Why don't you try education? I said, good enough. So I went into education.
Okay, all right. Well, good. You know, I was very lucky in that I always knew I wanted to be in radio, so I was very blessed in that regard. How did you end up as principal at Newton High?
Oh, it's a long story, but there again, I'll make it short. I went to California first, taught, and I was always going to be just a wrestling coach. Loved coaching, enjoyed that, and then I went to Gillette, Wyoming, and was there for a while, and decided, man, I'd like to move up the chain here. I'm not making enough money. And so I went back to school, got a master's degree, and started landing jobs in administration. Now, the job at Newton, to me, dream job. My hometown, I know the people, and so it all fell into place. The stars aligned.
How long were you the principal here?
Oh, 20 years, Jamie. I think a couple years before you graduated, probably.
Yeah.
What year did you graduate?
77. Yeah. What year did you graduate?
Well, I was in 83. Clearly, they'd lowered the standards by then. They let me through. But a certificate of participation. But no, so, yeah, we're close to the same vintage.
Okay.
We remember some of the same things,
Sure.
scooping the loop and whatnot.
Yeah. In fact, before we started this, I told you that Lynette Neubauer-Baker, my significant other, and you went to school together. So, yeah, she said, tell Bill I said hi. So I got to tell you that I was at the Newton Senior High School induction ceremony for the people who went in this year. And there were several great people that went in, but one of which was Frank Cruz, who was my speech teacher when I was in high school. And it was really neat to see him, get awarded because he deserved it. He was there for a number of years. But I'd say I was very, very impressed with the speech that you gave and all the accomplishments that the students had. And you, a couple of times here, you've said, to make a long story short, go ahead, make a short story long, because I want you to go ahead and brag about Newton High School. It's just so wonderful. And one of the things I know that my father up in heaven is smiling about is the return of the debate program.
Yeah. One of the things at Newton High School that it was here when I got here, and I think we even improved upon it, was to make sure kids have opportunities from all walks of life. So we were excited to add the debate team back. We have clubs for almost anything in our school. So if you're interested in maybe skateboarding or rodeo, we'll start a club for that to make sure kids have an opportunity. Years ago, we started a thing called the Big Game. And the Big Game is now a community event where our kids who are level 3 special education kids get a chance to be the stars of the entire day.
I want to just jump in real quick because I'm a member of Rotary, and I had Eric Hansen from Channel 8 who does the This Is Iowa series, and he did a story on that, and man, it was just fantastic.
Yeah, he did that years ago. Lori Gilmore and Tina Stanmeyer and a couple of other teachers came to me and said, hey, what if we started playing basketball games with our kids, and we signed them up with PE credit. So some of our biggest studs in the school said, you know what, I don't want to be in PE anymore. I want to help these kids who are in wheelchairs. And I want to help these kids who don't have as many advantages as they do. And so we started this game. So one year we gave them jerseys, 10 people showed up. The next year we did a little bit more. And once again, Jill Stanton was the PE teacher who was doing this, and Lori and Tina. Well, next thing you know, all the students want to come. The entire student body shows up. Because we gave them the time off. We said, you know what, we're going to take an hour out of the day, and we're going to celebrate. And now the community comes, and we have the dance team, and the band plays, and those kids are the star of the day at Newton Senior High School. And I got to tell you, it is a great day to be a Cardinal.
Okay, what other things?
Oh my gosh, lots of other things. The Career Academy, where I'm sitting today. This was not, it did not exist in any fashion. We didn't have a Career Academy. I worked with Steve McDermott, then superintendent, and the school board to create this bond with DMACC, so our kids would have the opportunity to get advanced training without leaving. And so we combined with others in the county, and now we have this great opportunity for our kids to get college credits, training, and anything from human services to welding right here in Newton, and they can do it for free. And so that's one of our biggest accomplishments. And then, of course, concurrent enrollments. Our kids can take so many college classes before they even get out of high school. So they've paid in some instances 2 years of their college has been paid for. Jamie, I don't know about you, but they didn't have that when I was here. Did they have it back in 77?
No. We had to go to the bank. Now, I went to broadcasting college.
Yeah.
Only cost $2,000.
Yeah, those days are over.
Yeah, those days are over. Now, I worked with a lady who was a partner of mine on the morning show, and in later years went to the same college. $50,000 for 2 years. So, yeah. So price has gone up.
Land a gig on CNN for that kind of investment.
Like that.
So, yeah.
So let's talk about the Silver Cord program.
Yeah, Silver Cord program is something 2 kids brought to me. And so once again, most of this stuff originated not with me. I was just sitting in the chair. I had great people surrounding me. And these kids said, hey, we do a lot of community service already. We'd like to package that and do the Silver Cord program that other places have. It's a nationally recognized program. And these 2 kids brought it to me, and they put everything together, and we run it through student council. So if you get 100 hours of community service, then you will be recognized at graduation with a Silver Cord. And we also do the blood drive. So we have gallon donors. So they get recognized for trying to give blood X amount of times. And we host 2 blood drives a year at our school. And then, of course, our Red Bride Service Day, which is another crazy idea by staff. Hey, let's take everybody, all 800, 900 kids, and go clean up the town. I said, you're nuts. Well, next thing you know, the whole town's involved. We give 1,600 hours of free labor to the city that day and to individual people. And what a great thing for kids to be involved in our school as well.
So much of the community service going on from Newton High School students. It is much to be proud of. I know that the football coach at the high school came and spoke to Rotary, and he gets those football players involved also.
Yeah, it's Andy Sweden-Jelm. I was able to hire him years ago, and the kid walks in, moppy hair, big, and man, he blew our socks off. And the thing that impressed me the most wasn't the X's and O's, was he cared about the community. And as we've hired the last 20 years, we try to hire people who are community-minded. So all of our teams, whether it be academic or athletic, have a component where they try to do some type of community service, and our clubs as well, to help the community be better. We're a small town. You can make a big difference. And so we teach that to our kids. I got to tell you, transcripts are important. I love it. But the most important thing you can learn is being a good human being.
I have to ask you something that I think a lot of people are concerned about, and that is books in the schools, the banning of some books and whatnot, and the privatizing of education, and also about funding of education, too. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit and get your opinion on those issues.
Well, I won't run for political office, but yeah, it is changing. The landscape's changing, and schools need to adapt quickly and to survive. And so people have choices now. And they don't have to choose to go to your public school. So you better make sure your public school offers something outstanding that they probably couldn't get in a private school. Private schools are fine. They're great. There are a lot of good things about them. Do I agree with all the banning of the books? I think there are certain books that probably aren't appropriate, but I think for the most part, schools have always done a very good job. All of the legislation, all of the news really turned out to be a much ado about very little. the news was a lot bigger than the actual impact on what's on our shelves. So not a lot has changed. We've done a nice job of making sure kids get what they want to read and making sure it's appropriate already.
Is education being funded adequately, in your opinion?
No, but I'm sure they said that 20 years ago. I do believe education needs to be the cornerstone of every community, because if you don't have an educated electorate, you're in trouble. So we need to continue to make sure kids get what they need to get to their careers, whatever that may be. It doesn't have to be college. You don't have to go to 4-year school. You have to go to 2-year school. But so they can get into whatever career they choose, we need to give them the foundation.
Trade schools are becoming more and more important, aren't they?
Absolutely, and that's kind of why this job appealed to me, because our community college and the academy here at Newton is heavily involved in the trades. And we have outstanding baking, electric, welding, CNA, nursing, all that is outstanding. And those are jobs that are in high demand. They're great jobs. And kids can get out in a couple of years and not have a lot of debts and make a very, very good living. And it's important that they have that opportunity to, they can go buy that house and they'll become your neighbor, and that's how communities build. When these kids have good jobs and good homes, and they have their children here, and that's how communities flourish.
That's fantastic. So this is kind of a self-serving question, because my dad was a former debate and speech coach at Newton High School, and was so disappointed when they got rid of the debate program in Newton. How did it come to pass that it was brought back?
Well, it's interesting. We had really great speech teams. Yeah, you were probably part of those back in the day as well, speech and debate, right? So we had speech. We didn't have debate. Debate has kind of gone away, not for the most part, but is not as popular as speech. And so I was talking to one of our coaches about it, and she, I got some kids that are really sharp. They'd love to try debate. So, okay. So we put everything together. We did our due diligence, looked at what other people were paying around our district, went to our superintendent and the school board, and they absolutely said, you bet. Chance for kids to get involved, we're 100% behind it. And so it was just that simple. And now we're just advertising, beating the hallways, trying to get people to come in and do it. And it's interesting because the kids that do it are also the busiest kids. They got a million things going, but they really love this opportunity. It's different than what they've done. So it's fun to have it again.
Well, that's great.
Now, Jamie, when you were there, you guys traveled a lot, correct?
Yeah, the debate program traveled quite a bit. I was not in debate myself, but I hung around with the debaters.
Okay.
And we had a room called the NFL room. Not this; that has nothing to do with football, but National Forensic League.
Right.
And Mr. Cruz let me hang around in there. And some of my best friends were the debaters. In fact, one of the guys that was in the induction ceremony, Tom Ashby, got up and spoke, and we were very good friends back then in high school. And it was great to be involved in that. But I was in speech, and I went to state speech contest, and guess what I got number one in?
What?
Radio news announcing.
Well, there
go
you
figure,
go.
Go figure.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about being attracted to DMACC to become the new provost here because of all the programs. How did it happen that you're ending up transitioning from being high school principal to provost here?
Once again, I had no plan. I planned to retire, and I was going to do nothing.
I was going to say, because people come to me, you're younger than I am, but I'm of an age where people expect you to retire, and I don't know what I do with my time. So maybe that's the case for you too, huh?
Yeah. People look at me and go, geez, don't you need to get on to something else? But so retired and was going to do nothing and stay home, work on our farm, whatever, maybe part-time work. And then this job came open. And you know what? I've worked with DMACC for the last 20 years, as far from the high school side. I love what they do. I love their mission. I love the idea of being able to help kids at different levels, and whether it be a trade, which I really enjoy the trades a lot, or something else. Why wouldn't I try that? So threw my hat in the ring, ended up getting the job, and I'm learning a lot. But I love the mission of a community college. It's more focused to serve the community and their needs than necessarily like in Iowa State, who's like, here are our degrees, hope you fit in. Community colleges try to fit into the community.
Okay, well, let's put in a plug for your programs that you have coming up this fall.
Absolutely. We know we've got an outstanding baking program. We've got an electrical program that has a waiting list. It's one of the best in the state, and it's fantastic. Mr. Dan Ayler runs that. We've got criminal forensics. We've got welding that's outstanding, and the world is screaming for welders, and it is a great amount of money you can make immediately. Court reporting, don't have enough of those, obviously. And so we have a lot of different programs for people, tons of different things going on. We have building and trades as well. gosh, I don't know if I'm missing any, but we have a lot going on that's eligible for our people to come in and try. And people need to come see what we have here at DMACC and get involved in some of those. If they're looking for a career, we can at least help advise them or maybe get them enrolled.
How can somebody listening enroll for that?
All they have to do is go on to DMACC and look, I'd like to visit, or just walk in the door. Because we're small enough, we can do that. And we'll take you on a tour, and we'll tell you about your options. So, Now, when you went to radio broadcast school, where was that located?
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Oh, up in the cities. It wasn't cold enough for you here?
I can remember driving down one of the streets in Minneapolis when I was going to school, and it was like a wall was on each side of snow, nothing but snow. But I went to, it's called Brown Institute, Brown College, whatever you want to call it. Now, back then, it was only a 9-month course, but I think it was pretty hard because we, back in those days, had to get our first-class FCC license, which was like tantamount to getting your bar exam passed.
Oh, okay.
You know, I had my third-class license because back then the FCC said to take any transmitter readings at a radio station, you have to at least have a third-class license. Then I took my second-class license when I was going to school, and I failed that the first time. It was so hard. Passed it the second time, and then I went on to the first-class license, and I got that. And that means that if you see a radio station with like more than one tower with a complicated antenna array, you can take transmitter readings.
Okay.
Now, guess what? They don't even have that at all.
You've seen a change, haven't you?
Yeah, it's nothing like that now. So, but it was a good start. And one of the teachers there remains a good friend of mine. And I'll never forget my time there. I'm glad I went there because I had actually worked at a couple of radio stations before I even went to school. I started out in high school in 1975 at the Knoxville radio station. Drove there every day. And I tell this story because it kind of gets me emotional. My parents knew my love for radio because I was playing radio in the bedroom of my house when I was a kid. If you see my Facebook page, I've changed it yesterday to post about Out and About with Jamie Grout, but it's a picture of me sitting there with a microphone and a record player, and I had these old radios, and they were like my control board, and so I always wanted to be on the radio, and I knew. So when I got the job in Knoxville, I was petit mal epileptic, which, if you know the difference, there's grand mal and petit mal, and that meant that I daydreamed. You know, I would it'd go off for about 5 seconds and come back, and I was turning 18, and luckily, when kids get out of adolescence, they either get better or worse, and I got better and eventually got my driver's license. But for my first 6 months at the radio station in Knoxville, my parents drove me to and from every day just so I could do radio. Yeah. And then I went on to a radio station in Pella, and it was just a bad radio station. All the equipment was second or third hand. We had mice running all over the floor. It was a pit, and I wasn't learning anything, and so I decided to go to school in Minneapolis, where many of the broadcasters, especially people who have been around for a while, went to. So you've already asked me some other questions, and I've talked about myself. What else do you want to know about me?
Oh, gosh. Well, you're a 77 grad, so I'm going to ask you a question about enrollment in high school. How big were the classes?
Oh, gosh, it was like 300 something. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was way more than what it is now. And, of course, Maytag was going strong then.
Sure. Yeah, we're closer to 180, 170 now. But they're 170 great ones.
Yeah, neat thing about that, when you go to class reunions, our class always packs the room. Last time it was VFW, and then before that it was the American Legion, and you know, you had to really look hard to find a seat.
Yeah.
It was great to be involved in all that. And we had a really good football coach back then. Well, and Coach Jenkins was also carrying on the tradition too, but Frank Gilson was our coach. Yeah, oh, did you?
Yeah.
And we almost went to state our year. Yeah. Now, when you were in school, this was like, you probably had pretty good teams too.
Yes.
Later on in the 80s, they had Chad Guthrie and went to state and came up second, I think.
Yeah, they had some great teams. You know, Newton had a run of fantastic years. When I was there in 1980, they won the state title. I was a sophomore. Then in 82, we went and won one game. Then in 83, 82 for me, I guess, my senior year, we were lost in the semifinals to the eventual state champion. And then they went on a run, and it's coming back. We've been to the state playoffs 3 years in a row. Right. And I'm going to credit the hardworking community and the coaching staff with the hard work they put in, because 6'5" guys aren't walking around Newton. They're just not. But these coaches are giving these kids the opportunity to get in and train, and they're doing such a great job. So my hat's off to them. I'm excited for the new season, and there's lots of all the activities are fantastic. Our kids get great opportunities. Ryan Rump does a great job with doing that. So it's just a fun place to be and a great place to raise your kids.
What else do you want to know?
Oh, about you. Let's see. So Out and About with Grout.
Yeah.
Is this your first podcast?
This is the first time I've done a podcast.
Yeah.
Now, I've done 2 others before. I did one that I call an unofficial podcast that was only 6 minutes long that I kind of introduced myself on. But I've never done this before, and I want to thank a good friend of mine, Jeff Mackey, who's an insurance agent here in Newton. Yeah, great guy. He has been pushing me to do this. In fact, even before my job was terminated at the radio station, he's wanted me to do this, and he's been coaching me and giving me ideas on stuff. I got an idea from Van Harden, too, who I respect and to me is like a radio god. And Lynette, my sweetie, has also helped. She did the graphics on our page, too. So I'm just really excited about this venture. I had been talking to a radio company out of Cedar Rapids, and I thought that I was going to end up working for them. I would have been over 7 radio stations, but they've decided to hold off on hiring on that for a while. So, Bill, I got to do something right now.
Put food on the table,
I got to put food on the table. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my time, and so that's why I'm doing this. Are you familiar with podcasts? Do you ever listen to them at all?
You know what? No, I'm not. Now, my daughter, she lives in Washington, D.C., Newton grad, Drake grad then, all the time. And she's always, whenever we get together, she's like, Dad, you got to listen to this great podcast. But there's always some creepy murder thing, maybe that's because, but when we have long trips, we enjoy them. So now I have an opportunity. I will go on and listen to our show. So I'm excited to try. There's a whole world out there of topics, and it need to be explored. And so I'm kind of excited to get into that platform.
Yeah, I'm going to, like I said earlier, going to put this on different platforms. I'm on Spotify mainly, and then I link it to my Facebook pages. But there's Google, there's Apple, there's all kinds of different platforms you can put this on. So why not? I'm going to give this a try. And I think you're a fascinating guy, Bill, and I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me onward and upward. And maybe I'll see you at Rotary from time to time. I know that DMACC belongs to our Rotary Club, and again, go ahead and run down the program that you have before we close here at DMACC for the fall and how people can register.
Well, we have liberal arts programs, so we have it's your basic comp, your psych, and math like that, and we also have electrical trades that is fantastic. We have baking, we have welding that's fantastic. We have court reporting that's fantastic. So we've got a lot of different opportunities here. So just come on in, check us out. We'll find out what we can do for you. I bet we can help you. And if we can't, we can put you in the right direction. If you're interested in continuing, maybe you just want to take a one-off class or something like that, maybe we can find that as well. But we're certainly open. We're excited. And get on in here and check it out and see what we can do for you.
Sounds good. Well, my co-host today has been Bill Peters, transitioning from Newton Senior High School principal to provost at DMACC. Check out DMACC. It's a great school to go to. I've known some people, especially in court reporting, that have gone on to bigger and better things with court reporting, and there is a real demand for a lot of these programs that you have going on. And again, next week we'll be talking with Craig Armstrong from the city of Newton and the one and only Van Harden. Until next time, Grout is out. See ya.